Hey guys, Elisa Massey here, and welcome to the second Dragon Age Codex video. We're just gonna get right into it. Where Codex? Yeah, we got quite a bit. Let's click through these first. The creatures. Start off with Archdemon. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumont. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the whisperer awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first blight. Threnodies 8:7. Apologies. The false dragon of the Tevinter Imperium, or the false dragon gods, how did I miss that? Of the Tevinter Imperium lie buried deep within the earth, where they have been imprisoned since the Maker cast them down. No one knows what it is that drives the Darkspawn in their relentless search for the sleeping old gods. Perhaps it is instinct, as moths will fly into torch flames. Perhaps there is some remnant of desire for vengeance upon those who goaded the Magisters to assault heaven. Whatever the reason, when Darkspawn find one of these ancient dragons, it is immediately afflicted by the taint. It awakens twisted and corrupted, and leads the Darkspawn in a full-scale invasion of the land. A blight. And then we have Hurlock. Taller than their Gunlock cousins, the Hurlocks are roughly of human size, but are possessed of considerable strength and constitution. The shock troop of the Darkspawn, a single berserking Hurlock, can often be a match for numerous opponents at once. They are known to adorn themselves with roughly carved tattoos to keep track of their kills and deeds, though it is unknown whether or not there is a uniform standard to these markings. Alphas. Alpha Hurlocks are more intelligent and more skilled fighters, often serving as commanders or even generals. Emissaries. Hurlock emissaries have also been known to appear during a blight. These Darkspawn are the only ones recorded as being capable of human speech and are often capable of employing magic. Mabari Warhound. Dogs are an essential part of Ferelden culture. No kidding, they are. There are memes. And no dog is more prized than the Mabari. The breed is as old as myth, said to have been bred from the wolves who served Dane. Prized for their intelligence and loyalty, these dogs are more than mere weapons or status symbols. The hounds choose their masters and pair with them for life. To be the master of a Mabari anywhere in Ferelden is to be recognized instantly as a person of worth. The Mabari are an essential part of Ferelden military strategy. Trained hounds can easily pull knights from horseback or break lines of pikemen, and the sight and sound of a wave of war dogs howling and snarling has been known to cause panic among even the most hardened infantry soldiers. Ogre. Oh boy, we got a lot about this. And I can already feel my throat starting to go. Jesus Christ. Towering over their Darkspawn kin, the massive ogres are a rare sight on the battlefield. Are they though? Traditionally, they only appear during a blight. Fair enough. But some records claim that ogres have been spotted in the deep roads, hunting alone or in small groups. At least one report by the Grey Wardens claims that an ogre was spotted alone in the Korkari wilds in 919 Dragon, though it was weakened and easily dispatched. Up to 100 of these creatures can accompany a Darkspawn horde at any one time. You just said they were rare on the battlefield. Sorry. During a blight, often using their great strength to burst through fortifications and demolish the front lines of opposing armies and their kings. They use brute force to charge their enemies like bulls, slam the ground with their fists to shake enemies off their feet, and hurl giant rocks into the face of oncoming foes. Melee can be difficult against a giant that snatches a warrior up in one hand, crushing the life out of him or beating him into oblivion with the other hand. The nimble can try to wiggle his way free, or an ally can attempt an array of stunning blows on an ogre to free the comrade in danger. Grey Warden lore urges caution when slaying an ogre. Unless it is ensured that they have received a major wound to the head or heart, it is possible that they are lying dormant and will regenerate to full health within a matter of minutes. During a blight, most Grey Wardens recommend burning all Darkspawn to ashes, dead ogres in particular. Well, that's actually kind of interesting that actually gives us advice on how to fight them if we come across one again. Shade. It has often been suggested that the only way for a demon to affect the living or affect the world of the living is by possessing a living or once living body, but this is not always true. Indeed, a shade is one such creature, a demon in its true form that has adapted to affect the world around it. My hypothesis is this. Sorry, I have gas that's trapped. We already know that many demons become confused when they pass through the veil into our world. They are unable to tell the living from the dead, the very static nature of our universe being confusing to a creature that is accustomed to a physicality defined entirely by emotion and memory. Most demons seek to immediately seize upon anything they perceive as life, jealousy attempting to possess it. Or jealously, that makes more sense. But what of those that do not? What of those that encounter no life or fail to possess a body? What of those that are more cautious by their nature? These demons watch, they lurk, they envy. In time, such a demon will learn to drain energy from the psyche of those it encounters, just as it did in the Fade. Once it has drained enough, it has the power to manifest and will forever be known as a shade. Such a creature spurns possession. It instead floats as a shadow across its piece of land, preying upon the psyche of any who cross its path. Perhaps it believes itself still in the Fade? There is evidence to believe this is so. A shade will weaken the living by its very proximity. If it focuses its will, it can drain a single target very quickly. Some have even been known to assault the minds of a living victim, causing confusion or horror and making the target ripe for the kill. The tragedy of a shade is perhaps that once it has drained the target whole, its appetite is only heightened rather than slaked. Don't you mean whatever. From the journal of former senior enchanter Malleus, once of the Circle of Ravane, declared apostate in 920 Dragon Age. Hey, that's this game. It's not gonna go. However, it's Aegis. In items. What does this mean? Havard was Mafareth's closest friend. They were children together in the same Avar clan. They fought side by side in so many battles that Mafarath dubbed him Havard the Aegis, better to have at his side than any shield. There it is. Sorry. Mafareth brought Havard with him to meet with the Tivinters. It was unthinkable to stand before his enemies without his Aegis. When he understood that Mafarath was giving Andraste over to be executed, Havard, unwilling to draw swords against his friend and liege, placed himself between Andraste and the Tevinter soldiers. The Tevinters struck him down, and Mafarath left him for dead. But Aegis was not so easily destroyed. Havard lived and made his way, gravely wounded, to the gates of Minrathous to stop the execution. Too late. He found only the ashes of the prophet left to the wind and rain. When his fingers touched the ash, his ears filled with song, and he saw a vision of Andraste, dressed in cloth of starlight. She knelt at his side, saying, "Rise, Aegis of faith, the Maker shall never forget you so long as I remember." His wounds healed instantly, and with new strength, Havard gathered up Andraste's remains and carried them safely back to the lands of the Alamari. Okay, we went through the thing for Elgar'nan. The Chant of Light. The Blight. Yeah, we got the elf stuff. No matter their power, their triumphs, the mage lords of Tevinter were men and doomed to die. Then a voice whispered within their hearts, "Shall you surrender your power to time like the beasts of the field? You are the lords of the earth. Go forth to claim the empty throne of heaven and be gods." In secret they worked, magic upon magic, all their power and all their vanity. They turned against the veil until at last it gave way. Above them a river of light. Before them the throne of heaven, waiting beneath their feet, the footprints of the Maker. And all around them echoed a vast silence. But when they took a single step toward the empty throne, a great voice cried out, shaking the very foundations of heaven and earth. And so is the golden city blackened with each step you take in my hall. Marvel at perfection, for it is fleeting. You have brought sin to heaven and doom upon all the world. Is that the line that was in the opening? I don't know. Violently were they cast down, for no mortal may walk bodily in the realm of dreams, bearing the mark of their crime, bodies so maimed and distorted that none should see them and know them for men. Deep into the earth they fled, away from the light. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumat. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the whisperer awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first blight. From Threnodies 8. The Fade. The study of the Fade is as old as humankind. For so long as men have dreamed, we have walked its twisting paths, sometimes catching a glimpse of the city at its heart. Always as close as our own thoughts, but impossibly separated from our world. The Tevinter Imperium once spent vast fortunes, lost that for a second, of gold, lyrium, and human slaves in an effort to map the terrain of the Fade, an ultimately futile endeavor. Although portions of it belong to powerful spirits, all of the Fade is in constant flux. The Imperium succeeded in finding the disparate... Why do I still not know how to pronounce that word? And ever-shifting realms of a dozen demon lords, as well as cataloging a few hundred types of spirits before they were forced to abandon the project. The relationship of dreamers to the Fade is complex. Even when entering the Fade through the use of lyrium, mortals were not able to control or affect it. The spirits who dwell there, however, can, and as the Chantry teaches us, the great flaw of the spirits is that they have neither imagination nor ambition. They create what they see through their sleeping visitors, building elaborate copies of our cities, people, and events, which, like the reflections in a mirror, ultimately lack context or life of their own. Even the most powerful demons merely plagiarize the worst thoughts and fears of mortals and build their realms with no other ambition than to taste life. From Tranquility and the Role of the Fade in Human Culture by First Enchanter Josephus. Culture and History. Have Aravels. I think this was some of the stuff that we had missed. In time, the human empires will crumble. We have seen it happen countless times. Until then, we wait. We keep to the wild borderlands. We raise Hala and build Aravels, and present a moving target to the humans around us. We try to keep hold of the old ways, to relearn what was forgotten. We call to the ancient gods, although they do not answer, and have not heard us since before the fall of our Lathan, so that one day they might remember us. Elgarnon, the eldest of the sun, and he who overthrew his father, Mithal the protector, Finharl the dreadwolf, Andruel the huntress, Falandin the friend of the dead, Dirthamen the keeper of secrets, Gillenine, I had that explained to me that how I had said it was wrong, but Gillenine, the mother of Hala, June, the master of crafts, and Selays, the hearthkeeper. We gather every 10 years for the Arlathven to retell the ancient stories and keep them alive. For when the human kingdoms are gone, we must be ready to teach the others what it means to be elves, as told by Gisharl, keeper of the Ralafarin clan of the Dalish Elves. History of Ferelden, Chapter 2. I'm sure we'll pick up Chapter 1 somewhere. Ooh, that's long. Culture and history. Okay, I guess that makes sense. The occupation was a dark blot on Ferelden's history. Our people, who from time immemorial valued their freedom over all else, were forced to bow to our legion rule. The Empire declared our elves property and sold them like cattle. Chevaliers routinely plundered freeholds of coin, food, and even women and children, and excused it as taxation. And for 70 years no landsmeets were held, for the imperial throne had declared our ancient laws a form of treason. King Brandel was one of those who escaped. He tried to organize the other fugitive lords to retake their land, but Brandel was neither clever nor persuasive, and the nobles preferred to take their chances alone, Ferelden might still be little more than a territory of the Empire were it not for the fact that his daughter had all the charisma that her royal father lacked. The rebel queen's rule began with a midnight attack on the Imperial armory at Lothering. It was swift and successful, and with their pilfered arms, the rebels began a campaign against the Orlesians in earnest. But the turning point of the war came when a young freeholder joined the queen's army. The lad, Logain MacTyr, possessed a remarkable talent for strategy and quickly became the favorite advisor of young Prince Merrick. The queen finally died at the hands of Orlesian sympathizers anxious to curry favor with their painted masters, and Merrick took her place as leader of the rebellion. Logain became Merrick's right hand. Merrick and Logain led the rebels in a new campaign against their Orlesian oppressors, culminating in the Battle of Riverdane, where the last chevaliers in Denerim were crushed. With the capital once more in the hands of Fereldans, the battle to free our people was finally over, but the battle to rebuild what had been lost had only just begun. From Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Now that's a little different from what the books say, because in the books, or at least the first book, The Stolen Throne, which I've read. I haven't read the other books yet. But in that book, Merrick's mother died before he met Logain. That was a thing. Like, he was on the run after his mother was killed. And he kind of ran into Logain. The Grey Wardens. What are we at? Okay. The First Blight had already raged for 90 years. The world was in chaos. A god had risen, twisted and corrupted. The remaining gods of Tevinter were silent, withdrawn. What writing we have recovered from those times is filled with despair, for everyone believed, from the greatest archons to the lowliest slaves, that the world was coming to an end. Excuse me. Again, I am so sorry. I just ate before this. I should really learn better. At Weishaupt Fortress in the desolate Anderfels, a meeting transpired. Soldiers of the Imperium, seasoned veterans who had known nothing their entire lifetimes except hopeless war, came together. When they left Weishaupt, they had renounced their oaths to the Imperium. They were soldiers no longer. They were the Grey Wardens. The Wardens began an aggressive campaign against the Blight, striking back against the Darkspawn, reclaiming lands given up for lost. The Blight was far from over, but their victories brought notice, and soon they received aid from every nation in Thedas. They grew in number as well as reputation. Finally, in the year 992 of the Tevinter Imperium, upon the Silent Plains, they met the archdemon Dumat in battle. A third of all the armies of northern Thedas were lost to the fighting, but Dumat fell and the Darkspawn fled back underground. Even that was not the end. The Imperium once revered 7 gods: Dumat, Zazakel, Toth, Andoral, Razakael, Lusican, and Urthemiel. 4 have risen as archdemons. The Grey Wardens have kept watch through the ages, well aware that peace is fleeting, and that their war continues until the last of the dragon gods is gone. Huh. So there are as many blights as there are dragons? So this is talking about history. So we're on the 5th blight? Is that right? That sounds right, I think. I'm not sure though. The Korkari Wilds. It is said that in the midst of the Black Age, when werewolves stalked the lands of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Alamari peoples stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arlings stood on the border of the dark forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. For 20 years, this Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In his hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the Chase and Wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years, the forest rang with screams, and the rivers ran red. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Arl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from her son's heart and plunged it into her own chest, cursing the Arl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Arl's army became lost, and it is said that they died there. Others say they wander still. The ruins of his Arlings stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women, waiting eternally for their husbands to return. The forest of legend is, of course, the Korkari Wilds. There are as many legends about the great southern forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wildlands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. I am so sorry. Beyond the mists are vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Korkari Wilds. There is nothing beyond. The wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. What more needs to be said? From Land of the Wilders by Mother Alis, Chantry Scholar, 918. There we go. I was about to go on about the Chantry, and my anger at the Chantry brought that out. Because we know how the Chantry feels about mages, don't we? Characters. I'm not going to read the quotes from the characters, because we've probably heard them say it. Alistair was a novice Templar when Duncan recruited him into the Grey Wardens, or rescued him, as Alistair would say. King Caelan Therin. Son of the legendary King Merrick Therin, Caelan was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he's held the throne again alongside his queen Anora. He fell in battle alongside Duncan at Ostagar. Okay, so the character things are going to update as we continue to learn more about the people, just so you know. Sir Cothran. Cothrian came to Logain's service the hard way. Because it's SER, so it's different, right? My bad! She belonged to a poor family and was out doing work on the farm when she saw a man on horseback being attacked by several bandits. She rushed to his assistance and found out belatedly that the man she saved was none other than the great hero Logain. Though she was hardly more than a child, he took her in, offering her a position with his soldiers, and she climbed through the ranks through her sheer determination. Becoming the commander of Merrick's shield, Logain's elite soldiers, was the proudest moment of her life. Oh, is she the one that he told to tell everyone to fall back? What did that say? He was killed in... All you have to say about Duncan is he was killed in battle against overwhelming numbers of Darkspawn at Ostagar alongside King Caelan. Nothing else? Really? Logain was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. I'm sorry. That does Duncan such a disservice, and I'm actually kind of upset. Like, I'm laughing a little, but I am actually kind of upset. Because he deserved better, okay? Logain was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. When he was still a boy, he joined the resistance, where his considerable tactical genius quickly became apparent. He became close friends with Prince Merrick, the last true heir to the Ferelden throne, and together they led the rebels to drive out the forces of the Orlesian Empire. Merrick raised his friend to the nobility, and Logain is now more of a symbol than a man. He represents the Ferelden ideals of hard work and independence. I have words. During the battle at Ostagar, he fled the field, leaving King Caelan and the Grey Wardens to die. Morrigan. Of herself, Morrigan says little. She does not deny being a witch of the wilds, but beyond that, everything about her is in question. Wynn's talent became apparent early on, particularly her skill at healing magic. She was well liked by all her mentors and was recognized as an exceptionally gifted student. Even the Templars who watched her could not deny that she represented the best the circle had to offer. She was an intelligent young woman who possessed a quiet confidence and maturity beyond her years. She spent many years mentoring apprentices within the circle, and her peers thought so highly of her that she was asked to be First Enchanter Irving's successor, but she refused, saying that she had no desire to work in the upper echelons. When word reached the tower of King Kaelin's call to arms, Wynne volunteered to go to Ostagar. Okay, that was all for characters. Credits and credits. Books and songs. Christ. Well, I opened it, so now I have to read this one. I don't think we'll get to the quest-related ones in this one. I'll pick it up in the next one, which might be next Monday. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. And if it is Monday, it'll be a little bit shorter. Actually, I'll end off with this one because of how my throat is feeling. And we can pick up with either Legend of Luthie's Dwarfson or anything that starts up here since then. The first flight devastated the Tevinter Imperium. Oh, this is the history of the Chantry, Chapter 1, by the way. Not only had the Darkspawn ravaged the countryside, but Tevinter citizens had to face the fact that their own gods had turned against them. Dumat, the old god once known as the Dragon of Silence, had risen to silence the world, and despite the frenzied pleas for help, the other old gods did nothing. The people of the Imperium, where'd that go? Began to question their faith, murdering priests and burning temples to punish their gods for not returning to help. Fair enough. In those days, even after the devastation of the First Blight, the Imperium stretched across the known world. Fringed with barbarian tribes, the Imperium was well prepared for invasions and attacks from without. Fitting, then, that the story of its downfall begins from within. The people of the far northern and eastern reaches of the Imperium rose up against their powerful overlords in rebellion. The Tevinter Magisters summoned demons to put down these small rebellions, leaving corpses to burn as examples to all who would dare revolt. The Imperium began to tear itself apart from within, throngs of angry and disillusioned citizens doing what centuries of opposing armies could not. But the Magisters were confident in their power, and they could not imagine surviving a blight only to be destroyed by their own subjects. Even after the blight, Tevinter commanded an army larger than that of any other organized nation in Thedas. But that army was scattered and its morale dwindling. The ruin of Tevinter was such that the Alamari barbarians, who had spread their clans and holds over the wilderness of the Ferelden Valley at the far southeast edge of the Imperium, saw weakness in their enemy, and after an age of oppression, embarked on a campaign not only to free their own lands, but to bring down mighty Tevinter as well. The leaders of that blessed campaign were the great barbarian warlord, Mafarath, and his wife Andraste. Their dreams and ambitions would change the world forever. From Tales of the Destruction of Thedas, by Brother Genetivi, Chantry Scholar. Okay. Maybe that was... No, that wouldn't be mentioned in the other one, because we had nothing about non-elves, essentially. Well, that makes some things make more sense, at least. Okay, yeah, so that is it for this Codex episode before my voice gives out completely, because I have to record more later today. I will be taking a small break, and then I will be recording. So, more interesting information about Dragon Age. Always fun. If you liked what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Maybe tap that notification bell to get notified every time I upload. See you on the flip side. Elisa out.